I can start now.
Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. From the Tamil Heritage Trust, we are extremely happy to welcome all of you to the latest edition of our monthly talk series. Today we have Ms. Rekha Rao, an independent researcher, to talk about representation of non-defined female figures in medieval temples. Before we move, a very warm welcome to you, ma'am. Before we move on to this main program, a very brief introduction about Tamil Heritage Trust, our organization. Tamil Paramparya Arakattalai or Tamil Heritage Trust is an organization that was started almost 14 years back by a group of like-minded volunteers in order to understand, appreciate, celebrate, and disseminate various aspects of Indian history and heritage, not just for the erudite and the scholarly, but the average public who may have a passionate interest in it. Towards this end, THT organizes several events throughout the year. The most prominent event that we organize is our monthly talk series, which is organized on the first Saturday of every month. We are right now in the midst of our July 2024 edition. Another event that we organize in the month of December is called Pechu Kacheri or Oratory Concert. Meant to collaborate and coincide with the musical concerts or the Margadi Isai Kacheri of Chennai. This is a 2-day event where we have 8 to 10 speakers to talk about an already curated topic. They are often joined by THT volunteers in this event. The third important event that we organize annually is called the Indology Festival and takes place in the month of June every year. It's an online event spread across 6 days when we have 12 subject scholars to talk in depth about a particularly curated topic. For 2024, our Indology Festival concluded only last month, and it was called Harappan Civilization, A Century of Discovery. It was to commemorate the centenary of the announcement of the discovery of the Indus Valley civilization to the world at large. THT also organizes several workshops for the average public. We have one-day workshops called How to See a Museum, How to See a Temple, etc. These are conducted in 2 sessions. In the forenoon session, we have theory and a series of lectures. In the afternoon, the participants are practically taken to a site to elucidate what was discussed earlier. On and off, we also conduct classroom sessions on topics like Grantham script, ancient Indian astronomy, ancient Indian mathematics, etc., for which anybody can register and attend. Another set of workshops that we conduct are called Alamar Avai. The target audience here are the school teachers of Tamil Nadu. Over a series of weekend lectures, various aspects of history and heritage are discussed with these teachers, the idea being that they take these back to their students, thus spreading awareness. Another kind of workshop that we have is called the site seminar. This is an in-house activity largely meant for our own education and enhancement. Usually we zero in upon a site anywhere in India, and over a period of several months, our volunteers study various aspects of these sites, and we have several in-house seminars. Then armed with all this knowledge, we visit these sites and experience them in totality. We come back and try to document all that we have seen and experienced. The Tamil Heritage Trust has also instituted 2 awards for commemorating individual contributions in the field of Indian history, heritage, and epigraphy. The first such award is named after our founder and is called the THT Professor S. Swaminathan Heritage Award. This award is usually given in the month of September, and details regarding submission of nominations will be announced soon. The second award that we give out is called the V. Venkaya Epigraphy Award and is jointly given by the great-granddaughter of V. Venkaya, the first official epigraphist of India, and THT. We are extremely happy to announce the winner of this award for 2024, epigraphist V. Vedachalam. Congratulations, sir. We had a jury comprising of Dr. P. Shanmugam, retired professor and HOD of Ancient History and Archaeology, University of Madras; Dr. Sushmita Basu Majumdar, professor and HOD of Ancient Indian History and Culture, University of Calcutta; Dr. Abhijit Dandekar, associate professor of epigraphy, paleography, and numismatics in the Department of Ancient History and Culture and Archaeology, Deccan College, Pune; and R. Gopu, a writer and speaker of repute from THT, who underwent an elaborate procedure before choosing this winner. V. Vedachalam is a well-renowned Tamil epigraphist, archaeologist, and scholar. He retired as a senior epigraphist from the Department of Archaeology, Tamil Nadu, after an illustrious career of more than 3 decades there as an archaeologist, epigraphist, and museum curator. He has contributed to and published 25 books and over 100 research papers on epigraphy, numismatics, temple arts, and religion, especially Jainism, in Pandya country and society. He has been instrumental in spreading awareness about Indian heritage, archaeology, history, epigraphy, and culture through his heritage walks. He has also offered training to numerous students in India and abroad. The jury cited the quality of his research, the number of inscriptions he had studied and interpreted, the significance of his publications, and his abiding passion for spreading heritage awareness in the Pandya country as the main reasons for selecting him. This award shall be presented to him in person at an event on July 27th at the RK Convention Center. I welcome all of you to come and join us on this event. Once again, congratulations to you, sir. At THT, we have a dedicated YouTube channel where you can find links to all our previous talks. Kindly subscribe to this channel and click on the bell icon to receive notifications of our future events. We have a website. These are our social media handles. To join our mailing list, you may kindly mail us at this address. As I already mentioned, we are a voluntary organization and do not have any dedicated financial backing. Hence, contributions are welcome from everyone. All of you may contribute generously using this barcode or this address. Now, moving on to today's program. All of us are aware that sculpture was a very important art form that was used to depict not only religion and mythology, but also various aspects of our social and cultural lives throughout history. In fact, the interiors and exteriors of temples were the canvases for these depictions. During medieval times in India, the role of temples in our society underwent a change. From merely being centers of religion and worship, temples became nodal points for administration, education, commerce, entertainment, cultural development, and social interaction. Consequently, the depiction of sculptures there also underwent a change. While earlier we had only mythological stories, gods and goddesses, suddenly scenes from the average man's life, society, and culture came to be depicted there. As a natural extension of this, women in all their gorgeous beauty and grace came to be depicted in their non-divine forms. If you see Indian medieval sculptures, they are a treasure trove of information for us about the kind of society that existed then. If we look at the feminine forms in these sculptures, we realize that they played a very active role in society then, and this tells us a lot about the status of women then. To elaborate on this and various other aspects, and also to discuss this topic from various angles, we have Ms. Rekha Rao with us today. Ms. Rao is a master's degree holder in Indology from the University of Mysore. She is also an accomplished classical dancer. Her research originally commenced under Dr. S.R. Rao, former Deputy Director General of ASI in 2000. Since 2010, she has been an independent researcher, and her fields of interest include sculptures of dancing women, Buddhist architecture, deciphering Indus Seal symbols, etc. Ms. Rao has also authored 16 books and numerous articles, which are available both in online academic and scholarly sites, as well as commercially at Amazon.com in print and ebook formats. Some of the books of Ms. Rao include Apsarases, ancient Vedic beverages, Indus symbols, mandala architecture, the glory of Hoysala queens, Ayurveda in Indian temples, etc. I now welcome Ms. Rao to enlighten us about today's topic and also tell us more about her books. Over to you, ma'am.
Namaste, everybody. I thank the organizers of Tamil Heritage Trust, Shyam Sriraman and Srimati Gauri, for inviting me to present a lecture on the representation of non-divine female figures in the medieval temples. The sculptures of non-divine female figures in Indian temple architecture reflect women's rich and diverse roles, highlighting their presence in the cultural, spiritual, and secular realms. Celebrated as models of beauty and fertility, the non-divine female figures were part of Indian temple architecture. Figures showcasing women's insight into cultural activities and their knowledge in the field of dance, music, Ayurveda, and yoga provide valuable insight into the historical, social, and cultural context of medieval period. The term medieval corresponds to the mid-period in Indian history. Medieval temple architecture in India, spanning broadly from 6th to 14th centuries, is characterized by its diverse styles in temple architecture, regional variations, and representations of social and cultural activities along with religious and divine figures. Almost all big temples have the figures of the most beautiful, well-dressed damsels called by various names such as Divyangana, Madanika, Shilabalika as aesthetic beauties of feminine energy, depicting many types of activities. Architecturally, they are placed at a higher level on the temple walls or as bracket figures as decorative architectural elements, enhancing the aesthetic value of the temple. These are the type of non-divine female figures on which I would like to focus today. Though they are often called Apsara figures, they are not the celestial mythological Apsaras of Indra's court. I begin my talk with two fundamental questions. Why were non-divine figures part of temple architecture, a place of worship? And second question is, why were the female figures more numerous than the male counterparts in the human representations in a temple? Regarding the first point, Rig Veda, the oldest sacred text of Hinduism, defines the abode of mortals and immortals in Mandala 10. It explains in the Hiranyagarbha Sutta how the golden cosmic egg emerged from the primordial waters and how Prajapati, the creator of life and progeny, emerged from it. He broke the cosmic egg into two halves, thus creating heaven and earth. The transverse division line defined the lower half as Bhulaka, the earth, as the abode of mortals. The upper half was the stronger Swargaloka, the abode of gods, the immortals. The mid-air became the Bhuvarloka, often described as the intermediary between earth and heaven. This astral plane was associated with celestial bodies, including sun, moon, stars, planets, and the flying semi-divines. Patala Loka refers to the realm below the earth's surface, the netherworld. Although the Vedas do not mention Patala, it is extensively described in Puranas, Brahmanas, and Upanishads, which explore the philosophical theme there. A temple is a prayer place designed to represent the universe in a microcosmic form. Its sculptures depict the inhabitants of all four zones, which are usually called worlds. Thus, mortals and human figures also have a place in temple sculptures. In temple architecture, immortal divine figures are represented according to iconographic characters. Divine figures have multiple heads and arms, hold specific divine accessories, and show their Vahana animals. Their activities mostly show episodes of granting boons and demand destruction. On the other hand, the mortal figures born and dying after living for some time, do not hold divine accessories or have multiple arms or heads or vahanas. An interesting observation of human female figures is that they depict activities with social, cultural, and philosophical aspects. Humans of both genders were depicted in temples. The male figures were mostly masculine, like warriors, defense people, kings in heroic posture, saints, and instrumentalists, while the females were beautiful young forms engaged in socio-cultural activities that enhanced the aesthetics of the temple. Now, coming to the second point, majority of the non-divine figures in temples are women. Why? The female figures are mostly depicted as young, slim, appearing to be in the prime of their youth with slender waist, full breasts and hips. Depiction of partially nude women with exposed breasts in Indian art was symbolized fertility, abundance, and women's nurturing nature. It was not intended to be erotic. It was rather a celebration of divine and natural beauty and was an accepted aspect of artistic representation. Their face was in oval shape with sharp nose and chin, large eyes, curvy lips, and arched eyebrows were well defined. Hair was neatly groomed with curls on forehead, and decoration was in many types and styles. The costumes were neatly designed with flying robes, and a tribhanga posture enhanced the youthful body's natural grace. The beautiful curves were truly the inspiration for sculptors to capture it in a permanent stone medium. Sculptors could carve beautiful hairstyles, graceful dance postures, variation in ornaments, and props held in their hands, which helped to express the sculptor's imagination. The naturally occurring aspect in a young female dancer, like the Hava, Bhava, and Hela, that is the mode of different expression through facial features and graceful body movements, were truly the inspiration for sculptors to capture them in stone medium. The beautiful Apsara-like figures were pleasant to see and thus believed to relieve human stress. For this purpose, they were placed in Indian temples. The favorite theme of sculptors was metaphorically comparing female figures in beauty and knowledge to the eternal youthful concept of the celestial Apsaras. They were placed higher as bracket figures or on a slab or lotus base, highlighting their form and capacities. The lotus base symbolized the aspect of chastity, and their placement at a higher level in a prayer place indicated their higher ranking as the learned elite women representing the idealized female forms. Almost all temples of medieval period have figures of dancers called Devadasis who are well versed in classical arts.
Ma'am, shall we share the slides now?
No, not yet.
Okay, fine.
The Devadasis perform dance and music recitals daily in temples as a form of bhakti worship. Most of the temple inscriptions mentions their services. Their temple performance were open to public because they heralded the heritage, cultural arts. The sculptors were inspired to carve the best adorned figures in dancing posture on temple walls. This added a unique charm to Indian temple architecture and was truly a source of attraction to draw many art lovers to temples. Additionally, in the medieval period, temples were not just prayer centers, they were centers of socio-religious and cultural activities. The plan of temples underwent a change, extending to a larger stellate plan, which gave many angled wall surfaces. Sculptors filled these spaces with interesting divine and non-divine figures. A dancing figure theme gave sculptors plenty of imagination and scope to create variations in ornaments and graceful body postures adhering to the rigid rules of Shastramana. Today's talk is focused only on the mortal, non-divine female figures. The female figures of erotic sculptures are outside the scope of today's talk. I present only a few examples of women as dancing figures, some sport activities, and some figures depicting the knowledge of Ayurveda, Tattva Yoga Mudras, and Sahaja Asanas. I present slide 2 now for the agenda for today's discussion. Slide 2. Slide 2, next one. Yeah, this is the agenda. Initially I discussed Devadasis, the temple dancers. Then I go to the dwarf representation of attendant figures, which are also female figures. Then I go to women in hunting activities, women in secular themes, women heralding the knowledge of Ayurveda, women depicting Tattva Yoga hand gestures, women depicting tantric themes, and women in social gatherings. I have chosen more figures from the Belur temple of Hoysala style and Rani Ki Vav stepwell monument of Gujarat, as I have written 3 books on this style of architecture. I have also figures of Konarak Sun Temple, Ramappa Temple, and Rajarani Temple of Odisha. Though the representation of female figures have similar themes in many temples of India, the execution varies because of the text followed by the stapatis. Sculptors and the stone medium used also varied. I go to slide 3 now. The representation of Devadasis as the promoters of art. This is a picture on the outer wall of the temple of Konarak, built in 13th century CE in Odisha by the Eastern Ganga dynasty. It is adorned with infinite figures of female dancers and musicians who propagated Gandharva Kala. These dancing women are pictures of Devadasis, the servants of God, who served as temple artists. Majority of the women figures in temples are Devadasi dancers, and they are mentioned in temple inscriptions. According to temple worship rules or agamas, music and dance were integral to worship sessions and was a long-standing tradition in India. Devadasis offered this service in temples. The instrumentalists, co-dancers, singers also served in temples as accompanying artists, depicted at the base of the main figure. The inscription in temples of Hoysala period addresses the dancers as patras, meaning lead role, in Nartaki, who presented the main role of a dance recital in a temple. Patra was the generic name, meaning the main dancer of any temple. The address, the address of Devadasis may vary on regional grounds, but they were all Devadasis in the historical period. These Patras or Devadasi Nartakis were presented in temple architecture like an Apsara figure because these people were also well versed in arts and dance for God. But Devadasi figures addressed as Apsaras are different from the mythological celestial Apsaras of Indra's court, who had specific names based on etymology, and they are identified by the magical feats or Puranic episodes they were associated with. The grooming and dress code of temple dancers were based on the description of Nartaki in Natya Shastra. Sculptors meticulously followed the rules of Natya Shastra because Natya Shastra and Shilpa Shastra were interlinked when depicting a female dance figure. Now, who were Devadasis? A Devadasi was a pre-puberty young girl married to God as a bride of God and not marrying a human. It was a social practice that existed in India from the 1st century CE. And Devadasi was respected well in the society. The young girl was trained in music and dance in the temple premises. Their unconditioned service in temple activities were immortalized by carving their dance and music on temple walls and mentioning their contributions in inscriptions. These figures have contributed to the understanding of the classical style of Indian dancing and instruments of the medieval period. I go to slide 4 now. Ornaments of a dancer. This figure of a dancer holding a mirror is one of the 42 Shilabalika figures of Belur temple of Hoysala style of architecture built in the 12th century CE. Almost similar figures looking into the mirror are there in almost all big temples of India. A dancer with a mirror in historical period refers to mirror tax. The mirror tax or Kannadivana refers to a practice where Devadasis were required to pay a form of tax for using mirrors extensively. This small practice symbolized the lives of Devadasis, illustrating how their cultural contributions were intertwined with economic and social dynamics. During Devadasis' adornment and preparation for their performance, mirrors played a crucial role in their grooming and beautification. The depiction of a lady with a mirror called Darpana Sundari in all temples is almost like a symbol of Devadasis. Mirror tax or Kannadivana, and it proves such figures with mirrors were Devadasi figures. In ancient period, mirrors were made of polished metal such as copper or bronze and were highly valued for their reflective properties. The process of making mirror was complex, time-consuming, involving a combination of metallurgy and polishing technique. While ordinary people saw their reflection in a pool of water, Devadasis were privileged to own a mirror, for which they had to pay a mirror tax. The figures of dancers on temple walls are decorated with various adornments. Their costumes, hair decoration, objects held in hands, and assistants vary according to the theme depicted. The ornaments of Nartaki are described in Natya Shastra and Manasolasa as aharya, the external accessories used by a Nartaki. The names of ornaments are labeled in the picture for a better understanding. There were varieties of earrings, the kundalas, sarige, muktavali were the short necklaces, ratnamala, varnasara were the neck chains, harshaka was the snake-shaped chain, and sutraka was a chain of 2-3 strings, all were neck ornaments. Upper arm bands were called Keyura and Angada. Lower arm was decorated with bangles called Kaibale and bracelets called Kadaga. The hip or girdle belts were pearly decorations called Palaka. Mekhala was the elaborate hip belt in 8 strings. And Kanchidama was a belt of 3 strings. All were used in sculptures as hip belts. Various types of small belts such as Nupuras, Kadaga, Radhaka were worn on feet, and toe rings were called Anduge. The jewelry used by Devadasis was donated by the dynasty queens and kings, who also sponsored the maintenance of these artists in a temple. The well-adorned, beautiful dancers' figures were and are a permanent tourist attraction in temples. I go to slide 5 now for hair decorations of a dancer. The first picture is a beautiful, elaborate hairdress called Shikhavyala of a dancer that gave the image of a serpent. This figure is from Bhuvaraha Swami Temple, Tamil Nadu. The second picture is the Hoysala style of hairdress of Belur Temple. The head decorations in sculptures included petal-shaped dandaka, also called Pindi Patra. Chudamani was worn on the center of the head. Makarapatra was a pearl net on the head. Shikajala was a hair net to trap the long hair and create different hairdos. Different styles of hairdress like Keshabanda or Kumbi Banda, the hair tied into a big bun at the back of the head. Dhammilla, the extensively decorated circular band above the head, preferred by Vidyadharis, the learned woman, or in many sculptures. Ekavini, the long hair with floral decoration and curls on the front of the head, called Brahmarikas, can be seen in some sculptures. While depicting dancing figures, sculptors were fond of depicting these variations. I go to slide 6 now for grooming of Devadasis. The Nartakis of temples were trained in all branches of fine arts from a young age, including dance and vocal music. They were taught instruments of all 4 varieties like tata, the string instrument, avanadha, the percussion instrument, sushira, the flute instrument, and ghanavadya, the metallic cymbals. This can be seen in the picture. Nati handling 4 or 5 types of percussion instruments are also documented in these group of temple sculptures. The main dancer, Patra or Nartaki, received special training in the intricacies of pure dance called Nritta and the emotive part called Abhinaya. I go to slide 7 now to show how perfect they were in leg postures. The figures clearly depicted that Patras or Nartakis were well trained in classical dance and followed the Padasthana or leg postures as described in Natya Shastra and Manasolasa. I present only leg postures of some figures. In the top row, the first figure is Ayatasthana. Some figures show Avahitasthana in a similar posture with the other leg. The middle one in top row is Mandalasthana, and the last one in the top row is Swastikasthana, the crossing of legs. Now, in the bottom row, the first figure is Aindrasthana. The middle one is Alidasthana. Alidasthana is a heroic posture, and the third one is Ekapadasthana, held when there is no movement. The second one is Ekapadasthana, and the third one is Alidasthana of a heroic posture. Along with dancers, even sculptors knew clearly about the postures and hand mudras perfectly. I go to slide 8 now. For Nartakis training as professional artists in Abhinaya. Professional artists showing Navarasa depiction. Nartakis were well trained in Abhinaya, the emotive part of dance as well. Natya Shastra and Dasharupaka mention shlokas of Navarasas. They prescribe how each rasa, the sentiments, are to be expressed on the stage with suitable facial expression and body posture called Angika Abhinaya. The supporting portable objects, the props held in hands, play a supportive role called Aharya Abhinaya. These figures of dancers in Belu temple are precisely carved according to the Rasa Shloka of Natya Shastra. And I present only 2-3 figures. In these 2 figures, Nartaki depicts Raudra Rasa. She is dressed like a Bhairavi with a Katvanga and Kapala as props. She demonstrates how the makeup should be for this character, what type of crown is to be worn, and the accessories required for this role. The gait or walking style to be practiced can be traced in the 2 figures with different leg positions. And in both figures, we can observe only Madhalikaras provide loud rhythmic sound for this vigorous dance depiction. There is no melody instrument like flute, or singing Sauganis here. Sculptors have not attached multiple arms because it is the enactment of a Nartaki in the Bhairavi role during a temple recital. I go to slide 9 for Bhayanaka and Veerarasas. First figure shows how Bhayanaka Rasa is to be performed by a Nartaki on stage in a dramatic performance. Nartaki is depicted to be scared of the wild monkey pulling her garment, and she is trying to drive away the monkey. Scare or Bhayanaka Rasa, according to Natya Shastra, should be expressed as a gait of hurried, fast and big steps, which the figure shows. They should show wide open eyes and her hands hold on to her stomach out of fear. This is exactly depicted in the figure. The second figure is Veerarasa, or a heroic posture with lot of enthusiasm. She stands in a heroic leg posture, Alidasthana, and depicts the release of arrow in Mokshana. Natya Shastra prescribes 4 postures to be observed in a dramatic scene while bow and arrows are employed. All 4 postures are carved in temples, but I show only one frozen last posture of Mokshana, of releasing the arrow. The waiting with the bow, and the bowstring was pulled up to her ear level, and then the arrow was released. And the figure shows exactly that, Mokshana, releasing the arrow. Some figures with themes like archery or engaged with pet animal activities do not show instrumentalists, but a different set of attendant figures. I go to slide 10 now, the attendant female figures. Many attendant female figures represented in dwarf forms accompanied the Nartaki figures. Who are these figures? What were they called? In this picture, the panel with the central or the main figure is the primary theme, and the short figures are helping or supporting figures that give more information about the main figure. The figure of women in panels are mostly with the dwarf figure attendants. It does not mean their dwarf representation are associated with the physical structure or Varna system. The variation in height is according to the intimacy the main figure enjoys with her attendants. In each panel, we explore how these women were depicted by way of their dress code and activities. Architectural representation shows the difference in their heights. The dress code of each category is prescribed in Natya Shastra, and it is meticulously observed in temples because Shilpa Shastra and Natya Shastra were amalgamated by carving human sculptures. The depiction of various activities was the creative skills of sculptors. According to Natya Shastra, chapter 25, stanzas 9 to 11, and Dasharupaka, part 2, chapter 46. In Nartaki, heroine can enjoy 8 types of attendants, or the 8 types of dutis. The shloka of Duti Lakshana quotes about dutis: Dutyo, Dasi, Sakhi, Karur, Dhatreyi, Prativeshika, Lingini, Shilpini, Swamcha, Netramitro, Gunanvita. The basic quality of all dutis should be Netramitro Gunanvita, pleasant to look at, shrewd and intelligent. These attendant figures of Nartakis in temples perfectly match the prescriptions of Duti Lakshana of the Dasharupaka. The attendants in the first picture are seen as small figures, and it is zoomed in figure 2. Now, observe the figure 2 now. The first attendant is Karu. Karu is depicted to be shortest in the group of attendants. She is half the knee height of the main figure. She is always depicted short and stout with minimum jewelry for identification. Karu is the attendant who does menial jobs like carrying the kit, carrying the pet monkey, of her mistress, food for them, and other cleaning jobs. Above Karu is the picture of Dhatreyi. Dhatri is from the word Dhatri, means a stepsister. She appears equally well dressed as the Nartaki. She is scarred up to the hip level and had Nartaki in her decorations. She was also like a Sakhi or a friend to the Nartaki. Sakhi was also a Duti, the companion who supported her mistress like a friend, and she must accompany Nartaki to festivals, gardens, and other places. Now coming to Dasi, please see the first picture, the female attendant to the main figure's left side is Dasi. In stature, she is depicted better than Kauru, up to knee height, and she had multiple roles, like giving suitable ornaments when Nartaki was getting ready for presentation, of helping her in her outdoor activities, and so on. In temple inscriptions of Chalukya or Hoysala period, Dasi was called a Sule. They were also Devadasis. Sule or Dasi's allocation work was maintaining the temple clean and other jobs like making garlands or keeping lamps ready. All types of duties are there as temple figures. Sule was a general term in Hoysala era for a lady temple attendant. Sules were two major types. One who stood with a chamara or a fan was called chamara Sule, and the one who stood with a by the side of a kamba or a pillar was kamba the Sule. They were engaged in maintaining the temple's cleanliness and are depicted almost in all temples. I go to slide 11 now to show how other types of attendants, Lingini and Shilpini attendants, are depicted in sculptures. The first picture shows the Nartaki with some scriptures. Her attendant here is called Lingini, who is literate and well versed in Shastras. She is depicted slightly above knee level, up to the thigh region of the main figure. She is naturally modest and serious, as they are literate and well versed in Shastras. She played a role in presenting a dialogue sequence while enacting a play or a dance sequence. In the second picture, the main figure is in a hunting game. Her assistant is called Shilpini, the Dasi who helped the queen in outdoor sport activities like hunting games. Shilpini was also trained in handling bows and arrows. She is depicted above knee level, giving suitable arrows while hunting and transporting the hunted games after the sport. I proceed to slide 12. These are the attendants of the Nartaki, the instrumentalist, who show different activities. Patra or Nartaki was the main dancer. The attendant figures here are totally different from the panels with social themes like hunting or social gathering. They were the accompanying artists playing instruments, and they were co-dancers or singers, or all were depicted at the same height up to knee level. Nati was the co-dancer with the Nartaki. Savagani or Lachani were singers, depicted as holding metallic cymbals and singing. They were well versed in rhythm patterns and are depicted in both music and dance recitals. The male artists in general were called Vaisheshika, trained in fine arts. Vamshika was the highest paid artist playing on flute. Maddalekaras played percussion instruments. When only Maddalekaras are depicted, the main figure is read as presenting a rhythmic pure dance sequence. The presence of Vamshika on flute and Saugani singing with cymbals indicate the dance is Nritya form with Abhinaya, dance to the song sung by Saugani or even the Acharya or the teacher. I go to slide 13 now. The depiction of hunting games in temple sculptures. The hunting games of Hoysala era are described in Manasollasa as Mrugaya Vinoda. Manasollasa is a 13th century encyclopedia on the social life of royals at that period. The versatile hobbies of Hoysala queens, written in Manasollasa, are documented through the Shilabalika figures of Belur temple. So the main figure in the hunting activity reflects the queen's hunting game theme, but it is depicted in dance mode, observing the postures as laid out in Natya Shastra. They meticulously observe the leg and hand and head positions, costumes, and accessories that can be used. Sculptors in Chalukyan and Hoysala eras loved the theme of women shooting arrows because royal women were trained in heroic sports. Royal families hunted in a reserve forest not far from city. The reserve forest mainly contained sober ones like deer, sambar, rabbits, peacocks, and varieties of birds. Deepamriga, Margaja, Paniyaja, Charaja, Usharaja were some types of hunting games in which queens participated. These hunting activities are carved in temple sculptures of Belur. Queens sometimes went with co-hunters to these private reserve gardens. Much before royal family went on hunting expedition, hiding shelters were prepared either on treetops or artificial shelters made by digging earth at lower level and covering it with grass cushions. I present the details of only two hunting games, Deepamruga. In this Deepamruga activity, an Apsara-like lady is engrossed in the hunting game of Deepamruga. The assistant Shilpini, a co-hunter, is there that is zoomed in the second picture. She is holding the deer Deepamruga in her left hand and holds a bundle of arrows in right hand. In Deepamruga game, a young and healthy female deer was trained and made into a bait called Deepamruga. Deepa in Sanskrit means to shine, to rouse, and that which excites and stimulates. Such a deer was trained to respond to signal calls and taken to the forest with a rein like that of a horse. In the second zoom picture, the Dasi is holding the Deepamruga with a leash around its neck. The trained deer was taken to reserve forest and released to mix with the wild ones. After some time, a specific signal call was given by the Shilpini Dasi, and the trained deer would run to the master. Lured by the young female deer, the wild pack of deers would follow, and then they were hunted. Now, observe the first picture. The lady is shooting the arrow upwards, indicating she is waiting in a shelter dug at a lower place. She is shooting the arrow to a higher level. The co-hunter is also dressed in a short dress called Vipadi with leafy decoration. I go to slide 14 now. This is Paniyaja hunting game, another type of hunting game. Manasollasa describes Paniyaja very elaborately. The hiding shelter is at a higher place because the lady in the picture looks down. The royal couple or queen, along with her associates, would go to the forest and wait near water places concealed in tree shelters made for royal people to hide. In this sculpture, the lady is seen looking down, waiting with bow and arrow. Soaked and sprouted chickpeas and other soaked grains were spread near water sources, and attracted by the smell of grains, a pack of deer and birds would come to eat the grains. They were hunted. Mimicking the call of a deer was also another game called Dvanija, in which the pack of wild deer were drawn to the mimicking call of a Shilpini Dasi, and they were hunted. Hunting was a strenuous game, and ladies often got hurt in their foot. Hunting partners gave first aid. On the right side of the main figure, in the first picture, please observe the first picture. We can see the co-hunter massaging or dressing the hurt foot. Transportation of game was also strenuous. The carcass of the hunted deer had to be cleared immediately so that wild pack of deer were not in doubt of humans around. The legs of the dead animals were tied and hung on either side of the pole. In figure 2, the hunted animals, a deer and a big water bird, are tied to the ends of a bow and carried by the attendant. These animals are marked with red arrows. They were cleared first from the animal movement area so that other wild animals did not doubt the smell of blood. Later, the attendants carried it on their shoulders. I go to slide 15 now. Another topic, women in secular fields. Many women's sculptures depict secular themes. These figures are depicted as self-exposing young women who are threatened by a monkey or a scorpion. They are classified as Vikrita Devadasis. Many sculptures are in temples where a young girl is intentionally exposing herself. Devadasis in temples were in 7 categories. Some girls who could not be into music or dance were obliged or forced to lead a life of catering to the sexual needs of temple patrons or village heads. Over time, they became Vikrita Devadasis, corrupted and affected by passion. Even this category of Vikrita Devadasis were carved in temples along with other Devadasi figures, like a young girl intentionally exposing herself. The figures do not display attendant instrumentalist and are not associated with male partners. The common representation in such figures were a motif of a scorpion approaching their sex organ or a monkey trying to disrobe the woman. Monkey is hinting at lust and a restless mind. A scorpion on their garment hints at the fact that lust makes a silent entry, or on the thigh as an indication of lust. Vikrita Devadasi or Varanganas, they were also called Varanganas, did not enjoy a good status like a temple dancer Patra, but they were a wanted part of society. This led to the term Vikrita Devadasi being used to describe Devadasis who were involved in sex work or considered to be fallen from their originally intended role. Understanding these cultures requires an appreciation of the cultural, religious, and historical context in which they were created. I go to slide 16 now. It is yet another topic, women heralding Ayurvedic themes. Shalabanjikas or figures where a woman holds a branch of a tree with love is a common representation in temple architecture. Shala means a tree and Banjika means a puppet, a doll under the tree. These figures display different varieties of medicinal plants and trees, not necessarily only Shala tree, but trees that are useful to communities' health. The intention of such figures hinted at the conservation of plants. Dohada Shalabanjikas are ritual figures of pregnant women holding the branch of a flowering or fruiting tree. The belief was when a young bride with her well-decorated feet kicked the base of a tree and touched the various parts of the tree, the flowering and the yield of the tree would be greater. It is just a comparison of procreation in nature. The question arises why only women figures were associated with trees and depicted in temples. Rigveda, in the 10th mandala about trees, eulogize trees as healing mothers. They are relievers of pain and restorers of health, bearing the strengthening sap in them. Trees were given the divine status of mothers, which was represented in architecture as a young woman of reproductive age holding a tree branch. The figures show how women were associated with medicinal trees or plants. The first picture is from Mathura Museum, shows a woman under the Ashoka tree holding a Ashoka tree flower in hand. Ashoka is an extremely popular medicinal herb in Ayurveda. It is used to treat conditions related to the female reproductive system. Consuming Ashoka flowers enhances conception, as indicated by the lady carrying a baby in her arms. The second figure is a very artistic Dohada Shalabanjika figure of the Ramappa temple of early 13th century, a Kakatiya temple of Telangana. It depicts women holding orchid plants. The orchid plants in the sculptures are marked with red arrows. Orchids were called Vandaka in Sanskrit. The Vandaka plant has both color and medicinal value significance, so it is classified as an auspicious flower. Orchid bulbs are believed to be powerful aphrodisiacs and are used as a fertility medicine. The consumption of smaller bulbs is believed to promote the formation of a female child, and the consumption of larger bulbs promotes the male baby. Vandaka plant is liked by women, and as a symbolic gesture, they hold the plant, orchid plant, in a graceful posture. I go to slide 17 now. This is a female figure holding a noni fruit tree. The picture depicts a beautiful woman from Rajarani temple in Odisha of 11th century CE, resting her foot on the base of a tree as a Dohada figure and shaking the branch with a pleasant smile. The long branch of the leaves and the flowers indicate it to be a noni fruit tree, which is also called Indian mulberry. The Sanskrit name for noni fruit is Ashuka, which means longevity. It is used to treat variety of ailments. The actual fruit picture is provided to show what fruit is depicted in the sculpture. The plant is depicted to be hugged by the Dohada Shalabanjika with a smiling face and putting her leg on the base of the plant to indicate how much it is beneficial. I go to slide 18 now. Slide 18 is the Lodra plant. It's a Lodra, a female figure holding a Lodra fruit. The picture depicts a woman looking like an Apsara kicking the base of the tree. She's collecting the bark of the tree in a bowl in her right hand and the fruits in a basket in her left hand. Lodra is mentioned as one of the best Ayurvedic herbs as Divya Aushadha. It alleviates all health issues of females. Lodra fruit paste treats skin disease, nourishes skin, and removes acne and wrinkles. The bark powder is used to heal wounds and inflammations. The actual plant picture is provided, which can be compared with the architectural representation of plant type and its leaves. Now the next slide 19. I go to palm trees, Dohada with palm trees. The panel from Hoysala temple depicts the picture of festivity of Dohada ritual in a garden by the royal family. The young bride is kicking the palm tree with her right leg and touching the flower bunch. Unfortunately, the leg part is damaged, but the foot is seen and it is marked by a red arrow mark. An older woman is guiding her through the Dohada procedure, which makes the tree give abundant fruits. The structure of the palm tree is well depicted with a bunch of flowers. Dohada is a ritual of fertilization of plants through contact with young maidens. These religious concepts and beliefs were depicted as ornamental carvings and thus were depicted on temple walls. I go to slide 20 now, yet another theme of yoga mudras. Women depicting Tattva Yoga mudras in Rani Ki Vav temple. The stepwell monument, Rani Ki Vav in Gujarat of 11th century CE of Solanki style of architecture has many figures depicting almost all Tattva Yoga mudras, Sahajasanas, acupressure, and reflexology methods as remedies for body imbalances. They are depicted through non-divine female figures. The disturbance in the vital points or nerve joints are called marmas in the body. Accumulation of toxins joints makes humans suffer, and remedies for that, as mudras to be practiced, are suggested in a pictorial form in many female figures of Rani Ki Vav. The women's sculptures guide the devotees to a better health and body and mind. Mudra Vignana is the science of establishing equilibrium in the body by practicing mudras, the stretching or curling of fingers in various ways when an imbalance occurs in the body. I present some pictures of Rani Ki Vav step monument. Figure 1 depicts palm of the figure. The 5 fingertips correspond to the 5 elements of nature, like thumb to Agni, followed by Vayu, Akasha, Prithvi, and Jal, which are also present in human body. In figure 2, lady stands, feet 1 foot apart, and holds Surabhi Mudra above the head and raises her hand above the head. This posture and mudra controls rheumatic inflammations of finger joints, shoulder joints, and sharpens the intellect. In the third picture, woman depicts Surya Mudra in her right hand, where the ring finger is folded and the thumb presses on the middle joint. Surya Mudra relieves lethargy in the body and mind and activates the digestive system and improves heat retention. I move to slide 21 now. Women depicting some more Tattva Yoga mudras. The first picture indicates a Sahajasana, a simple stretch of the leg and rotation of ankle joint. It's not a dance posture. It is a frozen posture of ankle rotation to relieve problems like stiffness, varicosity, or cramps in ankles, a common problem all humans suffer. She also holds mudras in her hands, and the Acharya is giving an acute treatment on her abdominal marma point. The second picture shows a woman depicting Mutrashaya Mudra in her left hand, where both ring and the little fingers are folded and the thumb presses on both joints. This mudra helps to reduce edema and toxin accumulation in hands, legs, or face. The small male figure of Acharya is demonstrating reflexology therapy on her foot to relieve her problems. I go to slide 22. Yet another theme, women depicting tantric themes. Many figures of female figures in Rani Ki Vav are depicted holding 2 balls, a very unique depiction of balancing under the foot or in between hip and the pillar. These are the acuchakra balls with small projections that are used to activate the nadis arising from foot and hands. In the second figure, she hints about the location of Mooladhara chakra at the mid-pelvic region, and the right hand shows the location of Sahasrara chakra in the head region. This is a depiction to trace the first and the 7th chakras. The third figure is a unique representation. 2 serpents are hitting or indicating the marmasthanas. Marmas, as I said, are vital active energy points at the intersection of nadis. A snake indicating that it is hitting specific point says that there is an accumulation of toxin in marma point. Here, snake is a metaphoric form to indicate toxin accumulation. It is not biting her, nor is she scared of them. It's just a representation. Temples depict many causes of physical problems because understanding oneself both physically and mentally is the fundamental step of self-awareness and must be understood before practicing meditation or yoga. I go to slide 23. For women in social gatherings, first picture is one of the bracket figures of Belur temple. It shows a picture of a Sechanakride, a summertime game in which men and women sprinkle colored water from pots and water guns like syringe on one another. In the first picture, the lady is depicted standing and enjoying spurting water from a syringe. To her left, a man fills the syringe with colored water from a big container. Another man in a short form is throwing water from a pot. Actually, interestingly, men and women played together without inhibitions, sprinkling water on one another during festivities. Though the implements used were in gold, silver, or clay according to the status, the dry colors and colored waters remained common to all. A second picture is a panel of Hampi in Vijayanagara style of art depicting young girls playing the color game and dance to the tunes of Holi. During festivals, men, women, and children dance together in groups in open performances are also documented in temples. I go to the last slide, slide 24. For further reading, I display the books I authored, which are available on Amazon as ebooks and print versions. My books details all the sculptures discussed today and many, many more. Now, coming to conclusion, in conclusion, I would like to say this research has attempted to understand the significance of non-divine women figures in medieval architecture. It is connected to discrete and different literary and archaeological sources. Though the dancers are placed on a oval pedestal with lotus petal design, they are mentioned in temple inscriptions by the name Patra, meaning the main dancer, who were Devadasis in the historical period. Manasollasa has been a great source of information for studying the social life of royal families of Chalukya and Hoysala dynasties. The social themes hidden in these Apsara sculptures stand out when observed keenly with zoomed pictures, keeping fourth and fifth part of Manasollasa as the background. The sculptors have given their best to disseminate the essence of scripture like Natya Shastra and Shilpa Shastra, Ayurveda, Yoga while creating temple sculptures. It is amazing to know the sculptors of these figures had a perfect knowledge of human anatomy, the art of dance and music, Puranic episodes, Ayurveda, Yoga, and many more fields like geology and engineering skills. We can only pay a respectful pronouns to all the sculptors who have given a unique identity to Indian temple art and architecture. Thank you all for giving me your time. Namaste.
So, thank you very much for a very beautifully illustrated lecture through a lot of information on a lot of sculptures that some of us have seen, but not in these particular angles. So that's, and bringing in things like the mudras, the pain relief, or the other smaller figures that we tend not to notice because they are a little too far away, or the main character dominates. That was very interesting. The characters like the Karu and the Datri and all that. We tend not to, those of us, so we do read things like quotations from Natya Shastra, where they, with the famous one poem that says, to understand painting, you have to understand sculpture. To understand sculpture, you have to understand dance. To understand dance, you have to understand music and so on. And very few of us have that kind of wide-ranging artistic background. So that to hear about all of this from the perspective of a dancer was very interesting. I do have a few audience questions. Let me pass that on. So Rashmita Fukan, who's watching on YouTube, says, what is the reason behind wearing so many different kind of ornaments by the Devadasis? What relation did it have to do with religion?
Nartaki has to be Netra Mitru. She should be pleasant looking, the first point. And she should wear varieties of ornaments. Even now, in dance recitals, dancers wear varieties of jewelry. Abhushanas enhance the natural grace of a woman. So varieties of ornaments were used, and while carving these dancers' figures, the sculptors could carve variations, and wearing jewelry was one of the abhinaya, aharya abhinaya. Dances in Angika, Satvika, Aharya. Aharya means what is to be borrowed externally. The jewelry was part of Aharya abhinaya, and these dancers were trained to use jewelry. And this also helps to show what type of hairstyle was in northern side, East India, West India, Southern India. All types of hairdresses were done. So Abharana Bhushite is one of the requirement, and a Nartaki's role was to present a visual performance. She did not practice it for herself in her room. It was for the people. So she had to be dressed well. It's a visual impact that gives on viewers.
So I have a question from Ramji. Is what's the difference between Apsara, Shalabanjika, or in this case Devadasi? In fact, Badri had the same question. How do you identify this, sculpture figures as Devadasi rather than Apsaras? Is there some evidence-based this thing, or is it your conjecture?
Devadasis are dancers. They're always with instruments, and they're with, as I explained, it can be either emotive dance or pure dance. Devadasi figures are always instrumentalists. As I told you, the hunting sequence or the another social themes, they do not have instrumentalists. That means they are giving a sequence of some other topic, some other episode they are depicting. The Devadasi is identified basically, first one of the sculpture is holding the mirror Darpana Sundari. As I told you, all Devadasis were privileged to have their own Darpana, and that is a symbol of Devadasi. So you identify a Devadasi because she is with mirror, and similar costume, she is in dancing posture. A Shalabanjika is always a lady with holding a branch of a tree. Shala means, Shala has multiple meanings also. Shala is a coat also, where Banjika is a putale. A coat should be decorated with small dolls which are Netra Mitru, pleasant to eyes. And Shala is a tree. Shala is also means the black Shalagrama stone in which these sculptures were carved. Shala has multiple meanings. Shaurya robusta is the Shala, which is usually in Buddhist scriptures, they refer to Shala tree, the Shaurya robusta tree. But otherwise, Shala in general term is a tree. A lady always holds. When a lady holds and kicks the tree with her left leg, it becomes Dohada Shalabanjika. So this is how you differentiate between Shalabanjika, Dohada Shalabanjika, and what is a Devadasi figure. Of course, each category has their own set of attendants. You need to study those figures, the accessories held in hand to interpret each sculpture.
Ma'am, how do you say they are different from Apsaras though?
Say, Apsaras, you mean Apsaras of Indra's court?
Yeah. What made you say that these are not Apsaras, but they are dancing figures? At the outset, you said that, no? Like, what
Yeah.
led you to that conclusion?
See, Apsaras of Indra's court are like Ramba, Uroshi, Dadichi, Gritachi, not Dadichi, Gritachi, and then Tilotame. They have certain definite names, and their names are derived from their etymology, what the name depicts. Tilotame means one who has a beautiful face. Manju Ghosha is a lady who could sing very well with a very melodious voice. So these Apsaras are, when they are depicted in temples, are associated with the sages, because Apsaras had magical feats also. They could live in upper world, and sometimes they interacted with humans. Like Menaka is always associated with Vishwamitra. A dancing Nartaki is not Menaka. Only when a dancing figure is associated with the Vishwamitra figure, you will read it as Menaka Apsara. And same thing, Urvashi comes with Pururava. Only when the episode is given, then only you read them as Apsaras of Devaloka. Otherwise, they are dancers depicted like Apsaras. So mostly the celestial Apsaras are associated with Puranic episodes. There will be a sequence, some supporting figures to indicate what episode is being depicted. Only then when either Shakuntala leaving the baby or something like that, Menaka leaving the baby, you can identify it as Menaka. And Menaka is not a dancer there. She was just a rishi's wife. So these, since these figures are mentioned in inscriptions, we can straight away correlate these are Devadasi figures.
Several people have questions about the mirror tax. They can't believe that actually mirrors were taxed. Is there, literary or inscriptional evidence about that? Did the Devadasis have to pay a tax just to carry a mirror?
Yeah, in olden days, mirrors were not all that popular. It was specially made and very laborious, very tough to make mirrors. So the high polishing required a long time of working on that. Even there are some pillars in Hoysala temples which have mirror finish, and they take a long time to make that small piece. Even in the Ramappa temple, the figures are with special shine.
Is there any evidence of this mirror tax anywhere in inscriptions or
you can browse, you can Google for what is mirror tax. That gives the details. Mirror tax is what I got information through browsing, and I didn't get a scripture.
No inscriptions.
Huh?
No inscription.
And not inscription, but mirror tax was there in historical period. But I don't know the exact book, scripture which quotes that. I'll find out that and get back to.
There's another question for Rashmita Pukan. Did the social backgrounds of the attendants of the Devadasis differ? Or are they of different backgrounds? The attendants of the Devadasis.
Yeah, attendants of Devadasis, when depicting, suppose a hunting game, I showed you, she is Shilpini. While doing that, she did not have instrumentalist, a hunting game sequence. It was a dramatic depiction, dramatic sequence where instruments were not played, but the attendants were showed who were skilled in that art. It means in Devadasi category, many were trained to handle bow and arrow for dance recitals also. It's not that they were into hunting games, but Devadasis were trained to use bow and arrow as described in Natya Shastra. So these attendants differ from when they give a literary, in the Manusula also says, the queens gave, often they gave the episodes of Puranic stories in privacy to the king to educate him, because as he had less time to go through this, they were educated or entertained. So in those sequences, the Linginis were literate and well-versed in Shastras. They accompanied the main figure.
So were they of a slightly superior caste than the Shilpinis, say? I mean, because they were educated as opposed to Shilpinis. So would you say that the Linginis were of a slightly higher caste or whatever, or a different caste at least, as compared to the Shilpinis?
No, I don't put Varna system or caste system at all in these figures, because nowhere it is mentioned. Varna is never mentioned. It is the capacity of a young girl to absorb what kind of art. Not all people are good at dancing. Not all can sing. Some people can paint. Some people can do a good cleaning job. And Patra was not supposed to do all the cleaning work. It was done by somebody else, because she was good at dance and this thing, music recitals.
Okay.
So there is a difference in, not all were good at one aspect. So, but every temple had hundreds, and in one of the Tamil inscriptions of Tamil Heritage Trust, the scholar quoted how many Devadasis were there in each temple. Hundreds of them were maintained. So of the 100, few were Patra dancers, nattis, co-singers, and the rest were making garland. There was so much other work in a temple to make decorations for festivities. So, but there is no caste system at all in this. It is the capacity of the young girl to do what work she liked to do, she could do best. That's all.
Okay, may I add, generally Devadasis are considered outside the caste system. And there are inscriptions that members of different castes offered their, family members to become Devadasis. They were not from particularly any one caste. I don't think within the Devadasi community had any castes as such.
Devadasis, within Devadasi, caste system was not observed. But in the historical period, some women were troubled with a young girl child. The people, commoners, harassed them. So they left the baby in temple for security reasons. Many families left their girl child in temple so that they are secured, they are educated well. And a girl getting educated was not all that, all that common in olden days. So temple took care of these baby girls and trained them in a particular field, gave them a life, and it also helped to maintain our cultural arts. But caste is not an important part at all in this. For security reasons, they left them there.
Another gentleman, Prashant, another member, Prashant asks, how were the sculpture you showed of Vaidya doing some treatment on the foot of a dancer? It looks like, how are the Shubhagaminis picking a thorn from her foot different from the sculpture you meant?
What? Sorry, I didn't get the word. What?
Shubhagamini, he says. I don't know what that means.
Huh.
A lady picking up, we've seen that, lady bending her foot up, with the thorn, and somebody picking the thorn out of her foot. And we thought that was that posture. Several of us have been told that that is the posture. But you are saying it's Acharya giving her, some problem with her foot, and he's treating her soul or something. She is like using acupuncture or something like that, right?
Huh. See, when a thorn is being removed, there will be some tree representation or something. But in this picture, most of the figures of Rani Ki Vav focus on the marma points. Most of the sculptures, I'll show you the marma points. This is the book, Acupressure, you can see the snake is biting at this point. The snake is biting at this point. Otherwise, why will they show a snake biting hitting at a particular region? It is for the acupressure and reflexology treatments were adopted by people. It was in vogue. The Chinese travelers during Buddhist period, they were regular travelers. They were attracted by Indian Ayurvedic system, massage system. They took it to their country and they trained Indian acharyas in acupressure reflexology. So there was an intermix of cultural values, medical values. So these figures depict that because many figures in Rani Ki Vav speak about evolution at the chakras. For that, the basic fundamental step is self-awareness. You should know your body. You should know how to maintain your body well without any problems, because once there is a problem, your mind is always focusing on the problem point, not on spiritual evolution or learning some art. So these figures, he holds a acute tool. You can observe, you have to zoom the picture and observe. With the tool, he is pressing on one particular point. That is exactly what reflexology treatment does. To study more about this, I took reflexology and acupressure classes from two professors who were hospital heads of hospitals. And I got to know how these pictures are related to acupressure therapy. That's all. That's how I worked. That these are related to reflexology, and it is a fact that Indians learned reflexology and acupressure along with Indian Ayurvedic massage therapy. These are depicted in sculptures, and with a tool, he is not removing you can't, with a pencil-like structure, you can't remove a thorn. It has to be a needle if you want to remove a needle. But this is a pencil-like. There is one more here. There is another figure is there. This point is being pressed. This point pressurizing in acupressure shows how to make your eyes work better, your sinus, your throat, because this is a marma point. So all figures are focused on marma points only in Rani Ki Vav.
I have one last question. You showed a few figures of women playing musical instruments. I was under the musical instruments, sculptures featuring women. I've been puzzled by that because a lot of temple sculptures actually show men playing musical instruments, and we've had the tradition of men in the community being musicians. So was there a history of women playing musical instruments also?
Yeah. See, in a temple, there was a teacher called, all temples had mutts, and it was called Sulevada. The teacher was called Sulevada. He was the acharya who taught dance, and another teacher taught them instrumental music also. The Devadasi had to be learned in many fields, because when an instrumental, even in today's dance, when flute is given, suppose for Sanchari, to depict some story repetition, in dance we get so many repetitions. So you give the Sanchari Katha to the alap of flute. You should know the intricacies of flute music. And as I said, not all were into all instruments. Some Devadasis were played on Tata string instruments. Some were good at percussion instruments. There are over 6-7 figures of Devadasis with percussion instruments. It's not that one lady did dance, did music, did this, everything. And there were so many Devadasis, each one was good at something. So they helped. They were the assisting. And Vaisheshika, they were also called Kushilavas. They were also trained in, like Devadasis, they were temple attendants only. They were employed in a temple. So they gave the supporting music to dancers. Like as in one, 2-3 sculptures, Acharya is giving the Tuvanga. So it's not the male Vaisheshika. There is a difference in dress or beard representation. some difference they will show. You need to enlarge the figures and study. You will get to know whether it is a Vamshiga or Madhyalekara playing or the Acharya playing with Natuvanga. These practices, what we have in present day dance recitals, the learning style was there from quite a long time in Indian arts.
Wonderful. So thank you, ma'am. We have reached 7 o'clock. So it's been, thank you for so patiently and, very knowledgeably answering so many questions. It was a wonderful presentation. It was very, very beautifully illustrated by so many beautiful pictures of sculptures. Must have been difficult to get pictures from a variety of different monuments and so on. So it was, enhanced not just by the grace of the sculpture, but if I may say so, by all the bhavas that you were showing while you were giving the talk. We're enjoying it so much. I think the dancer in you can't resist all of that. So thank you. We hope to hear from you again. Perhaps we talked about Mahabalipuram. Perhaps you can give us a talk in the future about that. So with that, I'd like to thank Shyam and Gauri for hosting, and thank you, Ms. Rekha Rao, for a wonderful lecture. And thank you all of us watching this program. We'll see you again for our next program. Good evening.
Thank you,
Thanks
ma'am.
for
Thank you
giving
so
me.
much. Yeah.
Thank all
Thank
the
you.
audience for giving me so much time. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Gauri.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Shyam, live stream.